Hey, welcome to the channel. So this week I'll be working on an 8-foot tall acoustic / sound dampening wooden fence. So about 6 years ago we bought a fixer-upper lake house. We love the house, we just hate how close it is to a very busy road. Lots of traffic. It can be very loud. It's a bit of a scenic road, so you get a lot of motorcycles and hot rods. We also recently just got an escapist dog, so we're trying to keep him safe as well. I couldn't find much info on doing sound blocking fence. There's really not much information out there. I tried to keep it as cost effective as I could. For a total project I came in around $1,000. That's including concrete, the gate hardware. I used exactly 1 pallet of pickets. We have 10 posts, the nails, the actual panels that I use, which are just styrofoam insulation panels. I will say that the fence does actually cut down the noise. I measured it before and after, and depending on the road noise, it did cut down about 20 to 30 decibels. So in realistic terms, that's like the difference between, say, a washing machine and a refrigerator. But if you're interested in seeing how I did it, let's do it. And this is why I like to pick my own wood and not have it delivered, because every single time I end up with stuff like this. Got a new toy. I can't even talk because the road noise is so loud. Got my first proper framing nailer. $100 Harbor Freight. I know it's cheapo, but for as much as I use it. So something I didn't know about framing nailers. There's different degrees at which the nails go in, and you have to adjust your nailer to the side or to the degree of whatever nail you're using. Here we go. Let's test this bad boy out. Holy Nikes. The fence is going to be lined up between these 2 windows. So I'll mark a line, come square off the house, all the way across to this fence. I've got my square line coming off the house, goes all the way to the fence. And so now I just measure from the line to where I'm going to start my fence, and then I'll know exactly how far on that side to measure. So now I come over to 54.5. I'm going to make some stakes out of the pallet. I had a wheelbarrow malfunction. All right, so I got 2 posts in. I was expecting to get all of them in today. That did not happen. I ran into some issues with roots from this oak tree here. This is a big daddy. Come back tomorrow with my Sawzall, cut out some of the roots. Man, I'm tired from just 2 posts. These guys that do fence for a living, I got a lot of respect for them, that's for sure. All right, we're back day 2. Got my nice little slope here so water runs off. Holes are nice and tight, set. Start digging some more holes. So for this hole here, I ran into a root that's probably about this big around. Brought the Sawzall today and I'm gonna cut it out, hopefully. All right, so what I thought was a tree root was actually a piece of the old cement septic tank right here. So another way I know it's septic tank is it stinks. This is what I'm dealing with. Holy cow. Holy cow. So I got it in. That one took a little bit of life out of me, not gonna lie. So I decided to go 8 feet on the fence because from what I've read, anything less than that is below ear level and doesn't really block sound. So I made a string line for my top picket so I know where to stop. In order to give the fence a little bit more of a decorative touch, I decided to rip every other board in half with equal spacing between each board. In my opinion, it's just a little more aesthetically pleasing that way. And I'm using a spacing block between each picket. So because I had this pole come this way a little more than the rest of these, my boards are gonna be a little bit longer, so I'm gonna have to take off a few inches here. So I set up a little stop block. Cuts exactly the same. I don't have to keep measuring. So this is what I got to go in between the fence. 1 inch insulation, I think they're like 15 bucks. I don't know if it's gonna work, but we'll find out. It'll be better than nothing. I think with pickets on each side and then this in the middle is gonna do a lot, remove a lot of the sound, hopefully. Work on the gate tomorrow. I think I'm gonna build it in place. All the pickets line up with the gate. All right, so the backside is not gonna be as ornate. It's just stacked pickets because I want the sound to come in and reflect back.
It's science.
And then inside, insulation's gonna go. All right, so that's what we got. Totally by mistake, ended up with a cool little design feature. All right, new day, got some fresh supplies. Start working on this gate today. I'm gonna be building the gate in place. First time doing this, so we'll see how it goes. Starting with my horizontal bracing first. So I'm toe-nailing my deck screws in an area where I can easily remove them later on once my hinges attach. Now I just repeat that 3 more times, just using the clamps to hold it while I screw it. I got my 3 cross members, and I'm gonna do vertical ones this way, on each side. Got my squares done, now I'm gonna do my diagonals. I just toe-nailed these in for now on the one side, and when I open the gate, I'm gonna do this side. And so what I've learned from my last video, numerous people told me, which I didn't know anything about this before, but when you're doing your cross bracing, if you're doing what's called a compression bracing, you want your main load to be at the top, so you want the force being pushed down this way towards the brace. And so what you don't want is this angle here to be more than a 45 that way, because then you're losing your compression strength. You want it to be 45 or less so that your force is being pushed down onto the bottom hinge.
It's science.
So now I can just mark my cuts. Bottom. And as you can see, my angle is less than a 45. I'm at about 31 or something. So I've got all my bracing done. I got all my boards on. Now I'm gonna mount my hinges on this side because you always want your door to open towards the lower side so it doesn't rub on the ground. And then all this is gonna get covered with a piece of trim afterwards so you won't see that gap. These are the hinges I'm using. These are, I believe, 100 pounds each, so this should be good. I used a scrap piece to level my hinge with the rest of my gate. So I did have to add a little spacer here to mount the hinge so that this was all flush. All right, got all my hinges on. Let's see if it works. So I just gotta remove these guys first. All right, here we go, moment of truth. Works, look at that, pretty cool. Cut the little knobbies off. Do yourself a favor and buy a framing nailer if you don't have one. My new favorite toy. An oscillating tool for the win. The idea was to make this a 4-foot fence here, continue the tall fence that way, and we'll have an area where we can see out of the backyard. Plus I didn't want to bring an 8-foot fence over to my neighbor's yard. It's just kind of rude, I think. Decided not to cement the last pole in because I wanted to have the option to remove it maybe later on down the road if I ever had to get, a large piece of equipment or something through there. I could just take that section out. So we have a little dog that likes to escape, and with that road being as crazy it is, that's the reason this section exists, just to keep the dog in the yard. So going as close to the ground as I can, and as close to that fence as I can. And I decided to do a cap on this section of the fence just, for decorative purposes. Just need a little... At a slight slope so water would drain off. And I'm adding a 2x4 here so I have something to attach my pickets to. So what I decided to do this time is I tied into my post. So I dug my posts and attached a few pickets ahead of time. That way I'd get my correct spacing. Now that all my poles are in line and plumb, I can set my concrete. And now time to add my trim pieces. The trim really gives it like a nice finished look. So for this side, I'm really just building a gate. Hopefully it'll block some of the sound coming from the road as well. And because we're so close to the lake, it doesn't take very long before you start hitting water. Usually I think right around, 4 feet or so. So my last video, I got a lot of hate about my music selection. So I'm really torn about playing music in my videos anymore, but let me know if the music's distracting or annoying so I can do better. All right, got both posts in. All right, we're back. Concrete is nice and hard. So for this one, I'm gonna repeat the same process as the other gate. I'm gonna do my 3 cross braces, then my vertical pieces, build it in place, diagonal piece, and then I'll put the hinges on, make sure it works, and then I can do the slats. So I've got clamps holding the board up level where I want it, and I'm gonna screw it in from the top. So I want to make sure this one is actually perfectly plumb with the pole so that I don't have any problems with my hinges. I'm using the clamp to keep this lined up. I got my clamp holding, I got my line to cut. So I'm going to put all the hardware on now, so it's all hidden when I do the final pieces on the gate. So what I'm going to do is just run these all the way across. Done, I'm just going to cut it right up the middle here, so I get a nice seamless look. So I've got all the boards on. Now I'm just gonna come through and just cut. And I love my DeWalt chainsaw. All right, so this is what we got with the trim up the side to hide that weird gap. I went in with the chainsaw and just mitered out all this right here so that when it opens, it doesn't rub. It's a big old gate, I know that. So for this side, I'm just gonna run the boards all the way up, take the chainsaw and just cut down. And one-hand it.